Hey everyone, before we dive into today's video, I just want to thank you all so much for the birthday wishes last week. Really meant a lot to me. I offer one-to-one coaching. It's what I do full-time. The odds are very good. I'd love to work with you. With that being said, let's get into it. Also, what do you think of that new intro? Anyways, let's get on with it. Now, if your winter arc at the time of recording this video is going to be more of a peel as opposed to a bulk, then I think Westside for Chubby Bastards 2 is a great option. Additionally, I took in some feedback from the original Westside for Chubby Bastards to make the program a bit more accessible while also tailoring it towards Strongman. One of the big changes is in the original Westside for Chubby Bastards, I had a lot of circuit work put in there, decided to drop that. The reason being, if you are in a commercial gym, it's hard to do circuits effectively without being that guy. Whereas if you are able to do them, I do have some programming considerations for you. Also, your lower intensive day is now more focused on your deadlift. Your upper intensive day is going to be more focused on overhead press variations. And then your full body day, we are training the squat as well as the strict log press or a similar variation thereof. So this biases the program more towards strongman, which again, I think is a great way to train for most of us. And it will help build a size, strength, and then the density work there helps improve the conditioning. So let's talk about the weekly schedule. If you've seen or ran the original Westside for Chubby Bastards, you're probably very familiar with the schedule in Westside for Chubby Bastards 2. Not too much has changed. Like I said, this is more of just an evolution or a permutation of the original program. So it's run on a Monday to Friday timeline. The idea being you're going to lift Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, lower intensive, upper intensive, and then full body developmental. And then you have 2 cardio conditioning days. You could certainly move the order around if you'd like. You could do the 2 intensive lifting days back to back, and then the 2 cardio days, and then the full body day. As a rule of thumb, don't lift more than 2 days in a row, nor should you take more than 2 days in a row off. So if you are running it Monday to Friday, just be mindful of your weekend calories. After all, if you're trying to de-chubby bastard yourself, the weekends are doubly important. Much like every program I put out there, the progression for the accessory work, you're going to have a menu to go over. And when in doubt, just pick something that I've put out in the template as a suggested option. But over time, you'll learn to tinker, play with it, and figure out which ones you like. There's also a newer progression available in this program that if you're on my Instagram, you've probably already seen it, but we'll save that for later. Day 1, lower intensive. We're going to start off with our deadlift. Then we're going to move into a vertical pull of our choosing, some single leg work, hamstring isolation, and then abs of our choosing as well. So for example, you might do an axle deadlift, then some behind the neck lat pull downs, a Bulgarian split squat, some banded hamstring curls, and then ab wheel rollouts. And you'll notice you have your choice. You can either run a bog standard progression off of my menu, or I make suggestions if you did want to do a circuit of the last 4 movements. This would make for a very fast-paced workout. You could also do 2 movements at a time. Again, just think about what you're able to do in your space and the equipment you have available to you. As far as training your max effort deadlift goes in this program, what you're going to want to do is you want to pick a variation and you're going to run it for 5 weeks at a time. I like running max effort variations for 3 to 5 weeks as I find this lets you get a lot more benefit out of the lift versus rotating it every single week. And if you need some guidance as far as which variations to run, hit the description box down below. I will include a link to a video I did that shows you some deadlift variations you can use to help address specific weak links in your deadlift that's even based off of how your own leverages play out. Regardless of which variation you choose, how it'll work is you have your sets and rep scheme as well as your starting intensity. So for example, in week 1, we're doing 4 sets of 6 and we start at 55%. Set 1 is 55%, and then from there you have 3 more sets where you're going to be taking weight jumps. And the idea is set 4 would be a near max effort lift for you, if not a new 6RM. Now, if you are using a variation that you don't have a 1 rep max established on, what I would suggest doing is setting your hypothetical 1 rep max to be roughly 85 to 90% of your best 1 rep max on your main deadlift. So for example, let's say you deadlift 600 pounds off of the floor and you've decided you want to do axle block pulls as your main variation. In week 1, set 1 should be roughly 300% because that would put you at 55% of 90% of your 1 rep max deadlift. And then from there, as the weeks go by, you'll be able to make better informed decisions as to how heavy you should be going and what your weight jumps are going to look like. As you go through the weeks, if you find that you cannot confidently make at least a 10-pound jump between your sets, I'll urge you to instead repeat the weight as opposed to going up. You're not going to get stronger missing reps. Next up here is the upper intensive day. You're going to start with your max effort press of your choosing. I have some suggested ones there in the columns. Supplemental press, it could be horizontal, it could be an incline, a row, some sort of rear delt work, biceps and triceps, and odds are good you can probably get away with supersetting the biceps and triceps even in a crowded commercial gym. Regardless, screenshot this, plenty of options available for you on how to build your upper body day. As far as your upper body max effort press goes, it's going to be trained in a manner very similar to your deadlift. Main difference is that you'll see there are some back offsets just to help add a little bit extra volume. And with this situation, if you do not have an established 1 rep max, what I'm going to suggest you do is simply start a little too light and work your way up. Think about week 1 as sort of a calibration week, and then from there you can take the next 4 weeks to really learn the movement and what your weight jump should be like. Third up is our full body developmental day. So you're going to be working the squat, the strict log press, weighted chin-ups or something similar, event work of your choosing, and then we have a little density series just to work your core. Again, screenshot this, or if you're really smart, hit the description box down below so you can grab yourself a copy of the PDF. Now, with both your squat and strict log press, what you'll want to do is use a training max, which should be roughly 90% of a recent 1RM, and across the weeks, you'll follow the program as written on screen. With the squat, we're focusing a bit more on density, just getting the work done in a timely fashion. It's been my experience, again, this might just be a me situation, I tend to lollygag on squats. Rest a little too long, got to kind of convince myself to get under the bar, walk it out, unrack it, walk it back in. It's just a bit of a hassle. But by forcing myself to work on a time cut, I find I'm a lot more efficient with it. And then as far as the strict log goes, it's just clean and press away, or you can take it from the rack if you prefer, but I would strongly encourage you to keep the clean in there. Just a little bit more upper back work also keeps you practiced in that side of things. And then in week 5 for both movements, if you're feeling good, you can work up after doing your main sets. Additionally, after every successful 5-week wave, add 5 to 10 pounds on each movement and let the good times roll. The program also makes accommodation for working events, and the idea here is you to work one style of event 5 weeks at a time. So for 5 weeks, you might be doing loading work, and the next 5 weeks, you'll be doing carrying work. The big focus here is to not overload on this. This isn't meant to prep you for competition. This is an off-season program. We simply want you to retain your skill with the events. That way, when it comes time to really get ready for them, you can then work a little bit harder and use your strength to magnify the skill that you're retaining here in the off season. Those percentages that I have listed are very rough guidelines. These shouldn't be based off of 1 rep maxes, but think about weights that you'll generally handle in competition. The goal here is to be fast, snappy, and efficient. As far as accessory progressions go, you're probably familiar with a lot of these here. One thing worth mentioning on the single leg work is if you did want to use the 8x8 method, it becomes the 8x4 method where it's 4 on each side as opposed to 8 each side. Just little heads up there. And then let's talk about the new accessory progression that this program introduces to a broader audience. It's long-term storytelling right there, by the way. Remember, I talked about this earlier. And it's the 2RD method. And what the 2RD method is, it's rehearsal, reps, and drop. You're just going to pick a rep range you like. Could be a set of 6, set of 8, set of 10. And you're going to do 2 sets with that weight. And the first set is your rehearsal set. So for example, let's say I like 6 reps. I'm just going to do 6 reps, then I'll rest. Then on the second set, I'm going to take that same weight out for maximum quality reps. It could be 6, it could be 8, it could be more. And then after the rep out set, I'll drop the weight 10 to 20%, and I'll do another set of max safe reps. And your progression indicator is when set 2 is 2 or more reps above your rehearsal set. Now, if you'll recall earlier, again, long-term storytelling, I am freaking on it, right? If you'll recall earlier, I talked about how there is a need for conditioning in this program. So these next few pages, I just talk about some strategies you can use to help improve your cardiovascular conditioning. If you downloaded the OG Westside for Chubby Bastards, this is going to look awfully familiar. The first cardio method I tend to reach for 9 times out of 10, I call it the 20-15-10 approach. It's just 20 minutes on one cardio piece, 15 on another, and 10 on another thereafter, such as the recumbent to the elliptical to an incline treadmill walk. Let's say you're just starting out. You might go 15, 10, 5. You're more experienced in the cardio side of things. Go 25, 20, and then 15. And something you can do between each piece of cardio is do a little bit of core or rear delt work, any sort of accessory work that you missed during your regular training sessions. This is a great way to fill in those little gaps. The other style of cardio that I really tend to reach for is a mixed means, where it's essentially a CrossFit WOD, but smart. Here's a few examples on the screen. The main thing you want to think about is cyclical movements that you can do over and over. You don't want a big eccentric loading component. That helps reduce muscle soreness. We want blood flow. We want to keep you moving at a steady tempo. I actually really like mixing them, so I might do 20 minutes on a recumbent bike, then I'll do a 15-minute mixed means method workout, and then I might do 10 minutes on the rower after that. Again, stuff like that 2 times a week. That gives me 90 minutes a week of quality cardio conditioning. That's going to help with fat loss, but most importantly, help with my heart health. Now, what fat loss discussion would be complete without talking about nutrition? As far as nutrition goes, we all know we need to be in a calorie deficit. However, one of the big things when it comes to a fat loss phase for the strength athlete that I like to do is use carb cycling. And the reason why is what often happens is when someone begins their cut, they drop their carbs really quickly. Suddenly, it's a very sharp cliff that they're jumping off of. So then their performance tends to take a massive hit as well. So then after a couple weeks, they think to themselves, oh, I'm getting so weak. So they give up. Then they decide, oh, I'm just going to be the big guy. And they get into that whole next level of delusion. Regardless, carb cycling is a great way to help maintain performance to the best of our abilities while in a calorie deficit. If you look on the screen right now, here's how I'd set your macros. And as far as those higher carb refeed days, I like to have those before my intensive days because you're generally training on the calories from the day before. So having some extra carbs in the system going into those workouts will help you perform a little bit better. Additionally, add a little salt to your pre-workout drink if you do take one. Otherwise, just have a little salt water, about a quarter teaspoon of salt. Something I like to do is I'll take that salt and sprinkle it over watermelon. Makes for a great pre-workout snack because then you're also getting hydrated. That's going to help you feel better in your workout. And again, maintain your performance, which is a huge aspect of a smart fat loss phase for the strongman. Pretty quick and simple. Again, if you saw the OG Westside for Chubby Bastards, this is just the sequel. It's not necessarily an upgrade over the original. I do think it has certain advantages, especially for the strongman side of things. Regardless, if you do decide to give it a run, I would love to cheer you on, so make sure to tag me in your training diaries. If you want a copy of the PDF, it is available free down below in the description box. And until then, I'll see you folks in the next video. Hope you're having a wonderful day.